everybody. This is Season 2, Episode 3 of Two Old Bucks, commiserating on life in general.
Oh, what's your name, by the way?
I'm Dale.
Okay, Dale. Hi, I'm Dave.
You're Dave.
The other Buck.
So
what are we going to do today, Dale?
Actually, something on my mind, Dave, I was thinking about.
All right.
I'm thinking about words of wisdom.
Okay.
And what I mean by that is not a lot of cliches, let's say, for example, not carpe diem, although that is a words of wisdom there, I guess. Carpe diem, seize the day. Mm-hmm. But I'm saying words of wisdom that might have stuck with you, or that you yourself have sort of adopted as something you would repeat, or you might have even given to others. But what words of wisdom have you taken with you, or you stuck with you throughout any words of wisdom?
I thought this was going to be your segment.
Well, it is. I mean, I can tell you.
No, okay. I've got like kind of favorite sayings.
Okay, well, I was going to let you lead off of that. Right, otherwise, okay, I do have a favorite saying.
All right.
Do unto others, or something like that.
But I think that's a good point. That's a good starting point. I have got three sayings, or three sets of words of wisdom.
All right.
And
you prioritize them.
I am not. These are in
random order.
These are by height. Okay.
Okay.
All right. So the first one is. This one is, life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans.
Okay.
Okay. Now, I first heard this in a John Lennon lyric, in a song that John Lennon wrote. But he was not the, and I just learned this recently when I was doing some digging into his songs. So this was originally credited to Alan Saunders, who wrote the Steve Roper comic strip. Can you imagine that?
Huh.
But he was the guy, as near anybody can tell, and it wasn't these same exact words, but basically that was. But I always thought that was interesting. Life is what happens to you while you're busy making other plans. Good.
That's good. That's a good one, and that stuck with you.
It's always stuck with me.
Okay.
I was probably.
That's legitimate.
I was probably 20 years old when I wrote that down.
Give me another one, then I'll give you a story.
All right, I'll give you another one on staying on the musical theme here. It says, you can't always get what you want, but if you try sometimes, you just might find you get what you need. And that was Mick Jagger.
Mick Jagger and the Rolling Stones.
Mick Jagger. He was the principal
nothing from
writer.
Some like Plato or what is that? Socrates or one of those. All those
one of those dead Greek guys. Yeah.
Nothing from those guys. Nothing.
Well, these are the ones that stick with me. I've got one more, but this is your segment, so.
Did you? Well, I'll tell you. I'll give you one that always stuck with me, and this was a piece of wisdom that my dad gave me. And one day, he found me sitting. I was on some stones, and I had a hammer, and I had some bullets. In fact, one was a shotgun shell, and I was busy tapping on these shells.
This story's not going to have a good ending.
No, actually, I think it was one of them. Escaped, and this is where the words came in. The wisdom was applied here. I was busy tapping on these shells and just seeing if I can get the bullets out of the end and doing different things with them. And I was about
being dumb.
Yeah, I was about
being
ready
a dumb young buck.
I was about ready to hammer that shotgun shell into flat to see if I could get the insides out of it.
Well, who wouldn't? Who wouldn't?
Yeah, I mean, it's the obvious thing you want to do.
That's
right?
the first thing that would come to your mind.
So anyhow, I can clearly picture this. He walked by, and with very, very casually, he said, you don't want to do that. You don't want to be doing that.
You don't want to do that.
And he said, son, there's an easy way and a hard way to learn things. I can tell you the easy way. And that stuck with me, but it didn't make sense right away. You know what I mean? He could tell you the easy way.
Yep.
And you think about the advice, the words of wisdom and advice you get from the older people. They were old to us at the time, and now we are them.
Now we're them.
But the older things, they would say things, and then one day a little light goes on in your head and say,
Bing.
man, that's exactly what he meant.
Yeah.
He was telling me not to do this because I'm going to hurt myself. And then that applied to many other situations.
Yeah.
Had to do with, those growth years of driving and chasing dreams and taking jobs and doing different things. And he would say, I can tell you the easy way. But most often, if you survive it, you try the hard way.
Yeah. That reminds me, you mentioned your dad.
Mm-hmm.
And I've got I got two dad stories that I can
I had to
throw in here.
Certainly throw right in.
And one of them is one that, we're lucky. We both had great dads.
Mm-hmm.
And they were friends. They worked worked on the ball field together, and they were great role models.
Mm-hmm.
I thought they were both great guys. I remember we were playing minor league or maybe pony league ball, and it was maybe a practice session. And one of the other kids kept talking about his dad. And he kept saying, my old man this, my old man that, my old man, my old man. And you stopped him. You probably, I know you don't remember this, but you stopped him and you said, he's not your old man, he's your father.
Ah.
You remember? You probably don't remember.
I probably don't remember, but I would have done that.
But see, it always stuck with me. I thought, boy, that's a word. What was the words of wisdom? That's really nice.
I never looked at him as an old man.
Yeah.
And for anybody who's listening, we did play ball together, and the ball field that we played on was 600 yards from my house.
Yeah.
But it was a mile or 2 miles
Couple
from
miles
your house.
from
You had to make a real effort. I had access to it every day.
Yeah.
To get down. You had to come a long way to get onto the actual ball diamond.
That's true, but it was an excuse to ride my bike. Even back then. Yeah.
Anyhow, so I look at words of wisdom, and I'm thinking about all the stuff that people say. Some of the, you see on plaques and things, you see cute sayings, apple doesn't fall far from the tree, or there's, what else did I had for that? Off the top, nothing grabs me that I could really hold on to.
I've got another one. When you mentioned your dad, and that two of them jumped into my head. The one was the one that you said about your dad.
Okay, what was the other one?
And the other one was my dad.
Yeah. And
again, I was probably 14 or just some cantankerous age, and I wanted to do something that the other guys were doing, and my dad thought that was not a wise choice. And I said, oh, Dad, but all the other guys are, all the other guys are allowed to do it. They're doing it. And he said, just because the other guys are doing it doesn't make it the right thing to do. Right. Okay. And
if everybody jumped off the bridge, were you going to jump off too?
That was one that stuck with me, and that's one that I try to teach my boys.
Yeah, both of those things, probably gave us reason to escape a lot of danger. Because I do recall not stepping in when everybody else was doing stuff like that. Yeah. Sometimes I'd say to myself, that just doesn't make sense to me.
Doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I think I'm going to pass on that on that thing. But then do you have any words of wisdom of your own? Like what I was telling you earlier, like I have a word of wisdom, like I found out that I'm mostly right. And if you agreed with me, we'd both be wrong.
I'm not smart enough to come up with my own, I guess. Let me think about that. Maybe that'll be next episode.
If money was something I enjoyed, I would have worked harder to earn it.
Okay. I like that one. I like that. So you've got a couple more here. All right. You've actually thought about this. That's good. That's good.
Somebody said to me one time, we can make a lot of money. And I said, I really don't want to work that hard. I just don't care about it.
Yeah. Those have been words to live by, for sure.
So in fact, here's the words of wisdom that I gave to a young man. And I said to him, I called him son. And I said, son, you can do anything you want because he was at the age, you know what I mean, that cocky age where you're 16 and 18, where you're just, you think you know everything. So I said, son, you can do anything you want as long as it doesn't cost me any money.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't 2 days. It wasn't 2 days before he said, oh, I need this. I said, wait a minute. What's the rule?
Uh-huh.
You can do it.
What's the rule?
As long as it doesn't cost me any money. And you know, what kids do, everything a kid does costs you money.
Costs you money.
So that was a great
Absolutely.
words of wisdom. He actually learned that one because I said, well, I think you either got to play by this rule or the other rule. You do what I tell you, or if it costs me money, you know. So anyhow.
Well, you know, now that I'm thinking about it, the one thing that I've tried to pass on, it's similar to the lesson my dad taught me, and I've told my boys, and that's, you know, life is all about choices. You know, you make your choice, you make your decision, and that's what you go by. And don't be a victim of other people's choices, basically. Don't use that as an excuse for something that you do.
Right. He made me do it.
He made me,
We all decided to do this, and he told me I had to do it, and
anyway, that's enough.
I have one more. We'll leave
one
with
more, and then we'll
leave
get off the heavy stuff.
This was when I was in school, in post high school, and I was trying to take a calculus class, and of course I didn't have my heart in it. I'm not skilled at that. So my professor called me to the side, and he said, if you need to concentrate more on your studies than your gonads.
Oh.
And I didn't know what he meant.
You did?
Actually, I had to go.
You had to look it up in the dictionary?
I had no idea what he was talking about.
But you have an idea now.
I said, I think he's absolutely right. I think that's probably what the problem was. Testosterone, what is the word?
Testosterone.
Yeah. It just pushes all your brain cells.
Clouds the brain cells, yeah.
And with that, good people, if you got any suggestions out there, what you lived by or what words of wisdom you gave your children or something, we'd be interested in hearing about that. Everybody's got one. I'm sure that everybody's got one. Where do you send it, Dave?
That would be bucks2old@gmail.com. The spelling is buckstwoold@gmail.com.
All right. So what were you talking about earlier?
Well, to change the tone a little bit here, I'd mentioned in a past episode about visiting Russia a couple times. Mm-hmm. And I'd just like to relate a story that happened to me on my first visit to Russia.
Okay.
And this would have been in 1992. And the company that I was working for, bought raw materials from all over the world. And, I was kind of a guy in the middle here, just, kind of a nobody in the company. And we were contacted by a British trader. And he said, look, would you guys be interested in trying to set up a supply chain out of Russia? This is 92. This is right after Gorbachev.
Glasnost.
Right. And Boris Yeltsin is the boss now. So there were a bunch of people in the room. My boss he was a VP, and the head of purchasing was there, and his assistant was there, and a couple other guys. So he says, okay, who wants to do this and go to Russia? And everybody's saying, no way, you kidding me? Yeah, I know. And I'm sitting there thinking, oh man, do I want to do this? Absolutely.
Oh.
So I raised my hand and said,
I'll do it.
Yeah, and everybody go, yeah, Dave, you're the man. You're the man. Go do it. So there are several adventures on this trip. But I'm just going to talk about one now.
But this is to be clear, this is an official trip. You're sent there on a mission to do something.
Sent there on a mission to try to establish a supply chain of tungsten raw materials out of Russia. And at this point, Russia was like the wild, wild west.
Right.
All the old rules were gone, and nobody knew what the new rules were yet. It was a pretty interesting place to be. So the Russian, the British trader, I meet him. We get to Moscow. And he's been going to Moscow for 20 years, as it turns out. all through the communist era when it was the Soviet Union. So he knows his way around.
Yeah.
He says, well, we got to go all the bureaucrats here first. So we go to the
Ministry of this.
Ministry of Metals. We go to
section.
the Ministry of
routine,
Tanks.
yeah.
Or we've got to go to this, da-da-da-da. So we're going to all these and meeting with all these characters. And we had a translator, a woman, a good translator. He said, okay, so we had a couple days slocking around all these offices and taking these
Getting
guys
the rubber
out,
stamps
taking
and the
these guys
blessings and the paperwork.
taking them out to dinner and just downing copious quantities of vodka. I mean, it was ridiculous. It was way past. I was a clear rookie here. So now we have to get on a plane and we go to the factory. The factory is in a town called Nalchik, which is south. It's near Mount Elbrus. It's about 100 miles from Chechnya, from
way down in there,
Grozny, where they had the first Chechen War and
right.
First Chechen War was 2 years later, but it was already kind of fomenting then. This was a different world. So anyway, so we're on the plane and we're flying down, and this guy's Noel sitting a couple rows up from me. So I'm looking. I said, Noel, now let me understand who all the players here. He said, this is the guy who was from the metals ministry. This is the guy who was from that other ministry. Mm-hmm. This is the guy who's head of the tungsten company, who's got a plant that we're going to see, and that's the translator. Okay. I said, I don't understand. Who's this other guy that's showing up here? And this is a little guy. He looked like Fred Armisen, okay, with big thick glasses. He looked just like Fred Armisen. He says, "Oh, he's KGB. He's KGB. He's here to keep an eye on you, Dave."
I'll be darned.
Sure enough, that's what he did.
So he just shadowed you.
He shadowed me. We got to Nalchik. We had, we did some couple days of plant stuff. Again, big party at night. I couldn't take another party. I left the party. I said, and we were on these beautiful grounds. I said,
Were your company funding it?
Well, I was.
Or somebody.
Well, they were paying. My company was paying my way.
Okay.
All right. Now, you can't spend any money in Russia.
Oh.
So, I take a walk. This guy's right next to me. So we ended up chatting. I think we kind of, now he might have just been Zooming me the whole way, but we kind of ended up liking each other. We had a lot of shared interest. He invited me to the opera at the Bolshoi Theater in Moscow at the end of the trip. He introduced me to his wife. He
spoke enough English.
Yes, he spoke pretty decent English.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And
he needed to hear firsthand without a translator what you were saying. Interesting.
And we actually kept in contact for a little while, and he kind of, we both kind of disappeared in the other guy's life. But and again, he might have been, this might have been part of the game, but we had a nice time together. So that's my KGB story.
Well, that's your tungsten story.
I've got several, but that's the only one I'm going to tell today.
Okay, so when you left there, did you actually come up with some kind of a possible deal? Were you able to source some out of there, or what?
We actually couldn't make it work. We could not make it work. A couple reasons. There were so many people that had their hands in the pie there.
So, and getting from where you wanted it to where you needed it would have been a logistical nightmare too. I suppose.
And I had prints of what our containers needed to be, the size of the containers that the material had to go into, and the plant manager at the plant, he's shaking his head. Nope. He says, "This is how we deliver." And he says these big thimble cars. It's like, no, I said, no, that's too big. That won't fit through the door of our plant even. And I said, no, we need this. He says, no, well, this is how we deliver. And the British trader looked at me. He says, they really haven't talked about customer service here yet. And the other thing was, our company did not want to take ownership of the material till it crossed the border and got out of Russia. We didn't want to pay anything that was still in Russia, because a lot of times
wouldn't get out of there.
Yeah. And we were subsequently contacted by, probably a dozen different people who claimed to be the sole representative of that tungsten plant. And of course, they were basically.
So if you send me $10 today, we'll send you a pound of tungsten
we
tomorrow.
may send you something, or we may just say thanks.
But, that's a fascinating story.
Yeah, I mean, and he told me stories about the old days, and we had dinner at the Inn Tourist Hotel one night, which used to be the only place Westerners could stay. And then he showed me where the tables were ornate. They had like a wooden lamp attached to the table. It was real pretty. And he showed me this little hole. He said, "This is where the microphone used to be in every table." And he would tell me about in the bedroom. You know where to look in your bedroom and find it. Yeah.
So that's where they wrote the story about the gentleman from Moscow, right?
Yeah, that was the place. I neglected to mention here that I'm telling this story in honor of our first listener from Moscow. We now have
really?
one subscriber from Moscow, and I'm not sure who that is yet, but hopefully we'll find out.
Somebody from Moscow listened to one of the podcasts.
Somebody from Moscow
is
downloading the podcast.
That's another interesting. We'd never delved too much into those stories. I knew you did a lot of traveling, but those are interesting stories that you only get to do once.
Right. Yeah.
That's the story of life, isn't it? Things that you can never duplicate. We couldn't just put together a trip, you and I, and go back and duplicate that today. It's a one-time thing.
Yeah.
Oh my.
So anyhow, all right.
Anyhow,
that's one of my Russia stories.
And you got a bag full.
I've got a few others. Yeah. Let's change the pace again here a little bit. You were talking the other day, for the listeners out there, Dell is like he's like a mechanical wizard / maintenance man.
Oh, we were talking about solving a problem, and I was telling you.
Yeah, and you were talking about DAP.
You mean my solution to everything?
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about DAP.
Okay. I wonder if everybody knows what DAP is. Certainly around the world, they might not know what that is. You know what I'm talking about, right, Dave? You're talking about that adhesive.
That's that goo.
It's a trademark name of a product that comes in a tube. Mm-hmm. That it's a tub and towel caulk.
Mm-hmm.
So if anybody,
my wife just used some to caulk bathroom sink. Actually,
well,
she did a nice job too.
Yeah, and I use it all the time.
I admired it.
Very handy substance. The reason I probably brought it up was
I'm waiting for that. Yeah.
All those holes you put in the wall. I mean, anything that's white or something. I don't know how many holes in ceilings or wherever I've used. Just get the DAP out and squirt it in there and wait a while until it settles.
So this could be under words of wisdom, actually.
It could be, and it's not a commercial for DAP. It's just that I've found applications for this stuff. A lot of times, trim work and places where you can't hammer something, I think I've probably ruined the trimmer on the bathtub pretty thoroughly by gluing stuff there and not being able to get it off or something. Mm-hmm. But certainly you can fill in cracks with those things. It's kind of like a white caulk, but it's not. It's just a handy way to hold things down. Mm-hmm. I'm thinking, there was a gentleman one time said, "How are you going to fix that? How are you going to do that? We can't move this to pound a nail in, and we don't have a." I said, "Watch." I said, he was in his 80s. And I said, "You're never going to have to mess with this again. I'm just going to show you." And I put a little DAP down the edge of that board, stuck it up against his crack that he was concerned about in his closet or something, and bada bing, bada boom. Uh-huh. It's still there. Until they tore the kitchen apart.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to go to commercial break now. We'll be coming right back to you with the new
How
episode.
to get DAP off your fingers.
This whole
it washes right off.
Or something. Anyway, yeah, that was...
So that's my DAP is a very, very interesting product.
Okay.
So I say no more about it.
You want to say no more? Okay. What else do you want to talk about today? We're kind of freewheeling here today.
What else do I want to talk about?
As always.
Oh man, when we hit the coffee table out there on the sidewalk, and we set the cups down, and we most likely lift the plastic covers off of them, you never know what I'm going to say. because
I'll second that.
you'll second that. And because sometimes there's just stuff comes up. Like I think about like those advertisements for hamburgers. You see this beautiful hamburger on television, hamburger, and it's got those black stripes on it. And you notice the black stripes go all around the hamburger. They're equally black on the edges, which I don't know how they do that. On both sides, they're just like, and I think they're.
Now, this is something that
this is a subject that would come
you
up.
Pain and suffering.
No, but it's just stuff I throw at you as soon as the coffee cup is opened. You know what I mean? I say, "Hey, Dave, did you ever wonder about that?" And that's how this whole thing got started. We just go think about stuff, and you are my sounding board, and I always just lay it on you, and you're looking at me the same way you always do. Like, where did this come from?
Are you kidding me? Huh? Who else in the world would think about that?
So I wonder about that. I wonder about that. And something else I wonder about. I watch these commercials for cars, and you see these people beating the heck out of these cars, spinning around. I said, who buys a car and pays $37,000 for a car to do that on a desert, to go running around like that?
Well, Gene would have done that.
Well, I mean, but a car like that, you'd probably get something that's purposely designed for that. These are like, go to Walmart type cars, the regular cars. I'm thinking, why don't you just show the guy getting in the car? He drives safely to the supermarket, and he drives safely back home. At the end of the year, he's got his 9,000 miles on it. You know what I mean?
It's just like the hamburgers, man. You're selling the sizzle, not the steak, not the burger. So that's the kind of stuff in fact, keeps you up at night.
This is a good topic for listeners to really search their brains on those little tiny things that they see, and they wonder what the heck, how, or they have the why question. Why do they do it that way, or why
does it make you want to say?
We are going to get inundated with letters of people who notice things that even we don't. I mean, even I don't see them. I'm just telling you some of the stuff that comes into my head, and if I don't tell you quickly, they fall out of my head, and I don't even remember what I was talking about.
It's just like water dribbling out, leaking out of the vessel. Yeah,
and
same thing.
And to the listeners, at the end of the coffee, after a typical cup of coffee conversation, which you're listening to, at the end of that, my mind is empty. We part. We part, and we go back to thinking about all kind of stuff. Oh. So fortunately, having a good friend who is just tolerant and listens after 55 years or longer.
It's not getting any easier.
It's not getting any easier, he says. But I'm telling you, it's a real blessing, because when I come down with these ideas and all this stuff that I think about and ask all these questions, my friend listens. So get yourself a good friend and tell them these stories.
And if you don't have a good friend, send us a letter. We'll be your friend. Frankly, we've had a little lull in the letters over the holiday season here.
I don't know.
Normally we've got 3,000 or 4,000 coming in every week, but we're down a little bit.
So. Are we not thought-provoking? We're not in any way controversial, but we're certainly thought-provoking.
We'll let our listeners answer that question for us.
And with that,
I do have one letter from afar.
Let's read it and spare them any more.
Let's not run off yet.
Yeah.
Okay. Now this is Bernd from Germany. So we do
Herr Bernd.
Bernd. Yeah. Bernd. Now we've got 4 or 5 listeners in Germany, as it turns out.
Oh.
So clearly, these may or may not be people that understand English, but like some podcasts I listen to, they help you go to sleep at night.
So greet them in German.
This is a sad fact. 2 people have told me, they say, I really like listening to your podcast, but I listen to it at night, and I generally fall asleep before I hear the whole thing. Like, is that
that's good. We help somebody sleep.
There we go. It's another public service. It's
right. Like, put people to sleep.
It's just like book reviews. So anyway, all right. It's back to Bernd.
And
he says, "Hi, Bucks. and you'll see the linkage with your cow story now.
Oh.
Okay, it says, "Hi, Bucks. Very nice hearing your podcast. I looked on the Koenig website, and it seems not normal to me." See, this is very, very, very formal German English here. Seems not normal to me. But then I remembered a trip to the Czech Republic where I saw special cows bred to live on the steep hills. Their legs on one side are shorter than the legs on the other side. So it can be possible. Happy New Year, Bernd. This is a fellow who's clearly, he wrote this, this was probably New Year's Eve. I think it's dated January. Yeah.
I've seen those cows.
You've seen those cows.
I've seen those cows.
So,
And you can say to yourself, how can they be on that slope and still appear to be vertical? And that is clearly, and they always walk the same way. Did you know
right.
that?
Yeah, that's right. Because
they always walk the same way.
Yeah. Now, what if?
Because if they walk the other way,
they would topple over.
And the ones that walk the other way, you always find them at the bottom of the hill, laying in a heap.
Yeah. Now I was gonna ridicule this thing, all the way. But then I thought, well, there was the whole kitty litter jug thing, and I was made to be the big fool on that one.
I'm thinking our friend from Deutschland might be teasing you,
might have been in the middle of a celebration, or
just
might have been pulling my leg, but
perhaps testing to see if you would buy into the short-legged cow story.
Yeah.
So, and with that, we are Dave.
And Dell. Did we just switch?
That's who we are Dave and
well,
Dell.
Yeah, it's the whole KGB thing that you're wearing.
Oh, geez. We are Dave and Dell, and we are
the two old
bucks.
Adios. Until next time.